So I came home from work tonight and I found this. And this suspiciously leads into my driveway. Now, I followed this and I was thinking, I don't think that was there when I left for work this morning. I'm going to pass my car here. And sure enough, there was a trail leading right up to my wife's Cougar. And a quick look produced that. Transmission fluid, or I should say actually, a puddle of oil in my driveway. I took some white paper towel and dipped it in it, and it came back red, which meant it was either power steering fluid, which didn't seem likely, or a transmission leak of some sort. So, joy. Coming up next. Hi YouTubers, welcome to another episode of Malcontent Corner, the corner where I hope to enlighten you with things that I've learned in the daily walk of my life. Sorry I haven't made any videos lately. It's been kind of a goofy year so far. First off, nothing's really been broken. Then unfortunately I came down with a case of the Rona. It lasted about 3 weeks. Nothing super serious, but just enough to take the wind out of my sails. And since then, it's been this, that, something else, and something else. But something finally happened. You saw the intro to it. So sit tight. I'm going to take you through what I end up doing to diagnose the problem and fix that problem. So let's head on outside, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, here we are under the hood of the car. I just want to cover a few things with you. Number one, the transmission filler tube, in case you're curious, is right there next to the master cylinder. But one of the things that kind of threw me a little bit for a loop was that it seemed as though the transmission fluid, when even though I followed the trail into the driveway, it was actually heading out of the driveway. So what happened was my wife fired up the car, backed the car up. You could see in the street there where she turned to go up the road, and as she went up the road, the trail disappeared. Now obviously the car did not run out of transmission fluid because the car still moved. If it was low, it may be low on tranny fluid, but it's obviously not out of tranny fluid. So that led me to believe, well, maybe this is something that just occurs when the engine and transmission are dead cold. I confirmed that because when I fired the car up, my wife had driven it, it was still warm. I moved the car backwards and forwards, and it didn't leak a drop. There was no spraying, there was nothing going on. So basically it seemed as though the transmission fluid just burbled out at the beginning when the engine and transmission were dead cold, and then as it warmed up, the problem disappeared. I wouldn't be too surprised by that, because it means when it's dead cold, all the fluid drains down into the pan, and obviously you probably have a buildup of fluid in the pan. But the question is why? I mean, is there a seal that went bad? And if it's a seal that's bad, it should leak whether it's cold or hot, at least in theory. Well, in doing some research, I found out that these transmissions have a vent tube on them, and that they do become plugged, especially if you, as I recently did, replace the battery. I replaced this battery about a week ago. So I'm like, where is this vent tube? And here's what I found. This is the vent tube right here. And I was like, okay, well, let's see where this goes. So I grabbed it, and, well, that's a hell of a vent tube. I mean, it vents, but it's not really connected to the transmission. So I'm like, all right, there's got to be something else going on here. So what I did was I did a little bit of looking, and it's going to be hard for you folks to see, but basically down there, that black thing you see, that is the vent tube. It ends underneath the power cable here. It got ripped. I don't know if I ripped it. I don't think I ripped it. I may have ripped it, but in any event, I'll take care of it. But the main thing is if you look, it's sitting right under the battery. So yeah, when I put the battery in, I pinched the tube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the battery, And I've got some plastic tube barbs for aquarium use, but it should work pretty well in reconnecting this vent tube. You basically just want the tube pointed down so that way fluid and dirt doesn't accumulate in it. So the way the hose is broken now, it's actually facing, if you were to look at it, it's facing up like that. So I don't want that. I'll put a barb on there and continue this. There's no pressure on this, it just needs to vent. But I strongly suspect that once I actually unblock the tube, because I don't have the battery sitting on it, things are going to work fine. So sit tight. I'm going to pull the battery and I'll show you kind of what I did to fix the vent tube. All right, coming back. All right, welcome back, guys. So long story short, I was actually going to splice this tube. If you look, I don't know how well you can see it, but yeah, it was pinched under the battery. It kind of left an imprint on it. I was going to splice this tube with the upper half that I showed you at the end of, but when I was looking at this tube, it's pretty knackered. It's ozone rotted and real crappy looking. So I just decided I was going to see where this went to and vented from, and sure enough, I took a look. Let me get my friend here the flashlight. Hold on. Okay. And I took a look, and it vents right there. So here's your battery tray, and there's where the vent from the transmission is. So basically, you can kind of see some of the black there from the rubber hose. This battery that I put in my defense, was a little bit bigger than the original one. The original one was a Walmart. This is a replacement from Napa. So that's probably why it got pinched, and there it is. And since it's so easy to replace, I'm just going to replace it with another piece of hose. So yeah, so there you go. There's where your vent is. It was pinched there. No wonder it was puking transmission fluid. I'm going to replace the hose, and we'll put it all back together. All right, coming back soon. Ta-da! And through the magic of video editing, the job is done. So anyways, I got the battery back in, got the bracket back on, got the terminals back on. As I showed you, I did put in the new hose. When I put it in, I actually left the hose flipped over this way. I put the battery in there to make sure it was not pinched in any way, shape, or form. It is not. Put it up here. Plugged it back into this plastic bracket that just pulls off of this, in case you're wondering how. You just got to get a screwdriver on there and pop it off. And bent the hose down a little bit so that way no moisture and dirt can really collect in it. It's pretty much protected behind the battery here, so I'm not too worried about it. But there you have it. Now all I got to do is just top up the transmission fluid, and this job will be done and put to bed. So if you happen to have one of these cars with a 2.5 liter Duratec V6 engine, and you've done anything with the battery recently, and all of a sudden your transmission's puking fluid, check to make sure this vent tube is not pinched or impeded in any way. Anyways, that's what I have for you in this episode of Malcontent Corner. As always, I appreciate you watching my videos. I hope to see you back again here in the not too distant future. So until then, you take care of yourself, and I will talk to you later. All right, toodles!